Imagine a frequency hidden in plain sight, a force that literally controls how your cells regenerate, how your mind sharpens, and even how time flows for you. Scientists can't explain it, yet ancient civilizations mastered it thousands of years ago. They discovered that aging, stress, and decline aren't inevitable. They're consequences of ignoring this frequency. With just your breath, your movement, and moments of silence, you can tap into it, reversing cellular aging, unlocking energy you thought was gone, and bending time to your advantage. What if everything you've been taught about growing old is a lie? The secret isn't in some exotic ritual or expensive supplement, it's in a simple, forgotten alignment your body was born to know. In the next few minutes, you're about to discover the lost frequency of creation and how to reclaim it before the world tells you it's too late. You wake up, and immediately, something feels off. It isn't just the exhaustion, the heaviness in your limbs, or the dull ache behind your eyes. It's something subtler, something deeper. There's a vibration just beyond your perception, a pulse that hums beneath the surface of reality, almost as if the world itself is alive and trying to communicate with you. And yet, you can't quite hear it. You've been trained to ignore it, conditioned to live in a reality that celebrates distraction over awareness, noise over resonance. For centuries, humanity has forgotten that the universe speaks a language of vibration. Every atom, every molecule, every cell carries its own oscillation, a rhythm that interacts with the rhythms around it. When these rhythms harmonize, energy flows effortlessly. When they fall out of alignment, stagnation takes hold. Pain, fatigue, anxiety, and premature aging aren't inevitable. They're symptoms of dissonance, signals from your own body and consciousness begging to be heard. Ancient civilizations understood this instinctively. The Egyptians, in particular, embedded these principles in their architecture, rituals, and sacred texts. Walk through the great temples of Luxor or Karnak and notice the subtle alignments of stone, the specific proportions of chambers and corridors. These weren't arbitrary choices. They were deliberately designed to capture, amplify, and channel specific frequencies. High priests entering these spaces would feel their consciousness shift, their awareness expand, their bodies resonate with something far greater than themselves. The ancients called this the pulse of creation, the lost frequency that governs life, consciousness, and time. Modern science is beginning to catch up. Neuroscientists studying coherent brainwave patterns have discovered that synchronized oscillations in neural networks enhance cognition, emotional regulation, and cellular repair. Biophysicists measuring the electromagnetic fields produced by living tissue have observed that coherent vibration within cells promotes regeneration. Quantum physicists exploring the relationship between consciousness and energy are seeing the first glimmers of what the ancients documented thousands of years ago. Life is vibration, and aligning with the right frequency is key to vitality, perception, and longevity. But there's a problem. Most of us have been living completely out of sync. Our breathing, posture, thoughts, and daily routines all fragment the internal oscillators our bodies rely on. Take breathing, for example. Observe yourself now. Are your breaths shallow, confined to your chest? Are your shoulders rising with each inhale while your belly barely moves? This is how modern life conditions you to breathe, how society trains you into panic breathing, a state of constant sympathetic nervous system activation. Your ancestors didn't breathe like this. They inhaled deeply, filling the diaphragm, expanding the abdomen, creating an internal rhythm that facilitated energy flow and detoxification. When you breathe shallowly, your nervous system remains in fight or flight mode. Cortisol floods your body, free radicals accumulate, and inflammation rises. Your cells operate in a state of chronic hypoxia, as if you are trying to run a high-performance engine on diluted fuel. But the moment you reclaim deep, diaphragmatic breathing, everything changes. Oxygen saturates your blood, lymphatic fluid circulates, and the vagus nerve, the master switch of your parasympathetic system, activates, initiating repair mechanisms your body has long forgotten how to perform. This is not magic. It's pure physiology. And yet, it feels miraculous, because it reconnects you to a frequency your body instinctively recognizes, a rhythm that predates modern chaos. Movement works in the same way. Observe any child at play. They twist, turn, roll, and undulate fluidly, unconsciously maintaining alignment with their internal rhythm. Compare this to the rigidity of adulthood, hunched over screens, constrained by chairs, shoes, and habits that disrupt your natural energy flow. Ancient cultures understood this intimately. Shaolin monks flow through movements that undulate like water. Yogis transition between postures with the fluidity of wind through bamboo. Sufi dervishes whirl in rotational patterns that create energetic circulation throughout their bodies. Every movement is a tuning of internal oscillators, a restoration of energy flow, and an activation of cellular repair. And then there's silence. In our hyper-connected world, silence is rare, almost forbidden. Yet, the ancients knew its power. Silence allows the nervous system to stabilize, the oscillations of the brain to synchronize, and the body's regenerative processes to operate unhindered. In the Egyptian hieroglyphs, silence was not emptiness, but a pregnant space, fertile with potential. Modern neuroscience confirms this. Periods of intentional silence stimulate neurogenesis, particularly in the hippocampus, improve emotional regulation, and decrease stress-induced inflammation. But your mind resists. Conditioned to constant input, it perceives silence as danger. Thoughts race, anxiety spikes, and you are compelled to seek stimulation. This is the process of recalibration. Stay with it. And beneath the storm, the lost frequency hums softly, waiting for recognition. Your cells themselves are oscillators. Each mitochondrion, neuron, and organ carrying its own vibration. Aging, disease, fatigue, and joint stiffness all occur when these oscillators fall out of harmony. Every thought, every shallow breath, every sedentary habit introduces interference. When you consciously correct these patterns, your internal resonance begins to restore itself. Blood flows more efficiently, lymphatic drainage improves, brainwaves synchronize, and energy surges where it once stagnated. You're literally tuning yourself to a frequency that regenerates the body and expands consciousness. Now, imagine combining these three pillars: deep, diaphragmatic breathing, fluid, conscious movement, and intentional periods of silence. Each amplifies the other. Breathing calms the nervous system, making movement more effortless and fluid. Movement increases oxygenation, making mental clarity and silence more accessible. Silence stabilizes thought patterns, allowing both movement and breath to operate with maximum efficiency. Together, they form a virtuous cycle, a harmonious loop that your body recognizes as the natural state of being. This is the river of renewal the Egyptians spoke of. It's not mystical, nor is it esoteric. It is the fundamental rhythm of life, accessible to anyone willing to reclaim it. And yet, the world conspires to keep you disconnected. Noise, artificial light, overconsumption, and overstimulation fragment your internal frequency. The result is fatigue, inflammation, and premature aging. The longer you ignore these signals, the further you drift from the lost frequency of creation. But there is hope. Awareness is the first step. Begin to notice the subtle vibrations in your body, the tension in your spine, the sluggishness in your joints, the subtle fatigue in your mind. These are not signs of inevitability. They are invitations to align, to reclaim the frequency that is your birthright. By consciously breathing, moving, and resting in silence, you begin to restore harmony, awakening not just energy, but a profound perception of time itself. Time no longer feels like a relentless force eroding you. It becomes elastic, pliable, and responsive. Moments stretch, energy surges, and presence becomes vivid. The ancients didn't just live, they resonated. Their bodies, minds, and environments vibrated in harmony with the lost frequency. Their texts, their rituals, and their architecture were all invitations to participate consciously in this resonance. And now, thousands of years later, the opportunity to reclaim this knowledge is here for you. The river of life force, dormant within your cells, pulses quietly, waiting for recognition. It begins simply, observing your breath, moving your body with intention, and seeking moments of silence. These aren't complex rituals, and they don't require rare herbs, exotic tools, or expensive programs. They require awareness, discipline, and consistency. And as you practice, something remarkable occurs. Your cells begin to vibrate with coherence. Your energy stabilizes, and the lost frequency of creation starts to flow through you as if it had never left. The first step is always the hardest because the patterns of modern life resist it. Your mind will scream for distraction. Your body will crave habitual movement. But when you persist, the river opens, and the hum beneath reality, the very frequency that shapes life itself, becomes audible. You begin to remember what it feels like to be fully alive, to move, breathe, think, and exist in harmony with the deepest rhythms of creation. This is only the beginning. What you've awakened is a doorway, a threshold into a world where aging, fatigue, and cognitive decline are no longer unavoidable. The Egyptians encoded the method for entering this world, using breath, movement, and silence as keys. Modern science is only now catching up, confirming that coherent oscillation and alignment of body, mind, and energy produce measurable effects on cells, organs, and perception. And here's the most important insight. The frequency is not out there. It exists within you. Your body, mind, and consciousness are already capable of tuning to it. You don't need permission. You don't need equipment. You only need the awareness to practice, the patience to persist, and the courage to reclaim what civilization has systematically taught you to ignore. The lost frequency of creation isn't a secret, it's your birthright. And today, you are standing at the threshold of remembering it. If part 1 opened your awareness to the subtle hum beneath reality, then part 2 will teach you how to step fully into that vibration, how to let it flow through your body, mind, and consciousness. The Egyptians understood that awareness alone was not enough. You could recognize the frequency, feel its absence, sense its power, but without action, the river remained blocked. Action is the bridge between perception and transformation. And the ancients built their entire philosophy around 3 pillars: conscious movement, intentional silence, and rhythmic breath. Let's start with movement, the most obvious yet most neglected pillar. Modern society has confused movement with exercise. Exercise, as we know it today, is often about aesthetics, building bigger muscles, burning calories, or checking a box on a fitness app. But movement, in the ancient sense, was medicine. It was life. It was an energetic language designed to circulate the life force, or what they called Ka, throughout the body. When movement is fluid, conscious, and patterned, every joint, vertebra, and organ becomes a conduit for vibrational alignment. Observe a Shaolin monk flowing through forms. Every motion undulates with the precision of a river bending through rocks. The spine moves like water, absorbing and releasing energy. The shoulders, hips, and core rotating in perfect synchrony. Or watch a yogi transitioning between poses, bending, twisting, and reaching with the grace of wind through bamboo. Every muscle, every tendon, every sinew conducts energy, creating internal oscillations that restore cellular coherence. These aren't feats of athleticism. They are activations of your body's natural regenerative machinery. Even simpler movements, when performed consciously, create similar effects. Imagine standing with feet hip-width apart, shoulders relaxed. Slowly tuck your chin to your chest and roll your spine down vertebra by vertebra, as if peeling it from an invisible wall behind you. Pause at the bottom, allowing your body to stretch and settle, then roll back up with the same vertebral precision. This isn't about touching your toes. It's about awakening each segment of your spine, activating the cerebrospinal fluid, and unlocking energetic flow. Your nervous system literally resets with each precise motion, your internal oscillators vibrating in synchrony once more. Rotation is equally transformative. Place your hands on your shoulders, elbows wide, and make slow, deliberate circles with your torso. Start the rotation from different segments: lumbar, thoracic, cervical. Feel your organs being massaged internally, lymphatic fluid mobilizing, and energy surging through pathways that have long been dormant. Even something as simple as raising your arms overhead and gently arching your back, what the ancients called the solar opening, creates space in the chest, opens the heart center, and restores oxygenation. These movements may appear minimal, but their effects on cellular vibration, organ function, and energy alignment are profound. Movement alone, however, is insufficient if the mind remains fragmented. This is where silence enters. Silence is not merely the absence of sound, it is the presence of regenerative space. When you practice intentional silence, the brain's chaotic oscillations settle into coherence. The hippocampus regenerates neurons, the vagus nerve balances parasympathetic tone, and inflammatory signals decrease. In ancient Egypt, silence was called the womb of potential, a fertile emptiness, pregnant with life. Modern neuroscience validates this insight. Silence stimulates neuroplasticity, enhances cognitive function, and promotes emotional resilience. Yet silence is difficult because your nervous system resists it. Conditioned to constant stimulation notifications, emails, news alerts, your mind interprets quiet as danger, thoughts rush in like wild horses. Anxiety spikes, cravings for distraction emerge. This is what researchers now call noise withdrawal syndrome. But when you persist, a remarkable phenomenon occurs. Beneath the mental storm, a lake of awareness emerges. Thoughts still arise, but they no longer command your attention. You observe them, detached, like boats drifting along a river. The lost frequency hums beneath this lake, waiting to synchronize with your internal oscillators. Breath ties movement and silence together, forming the final pillar. Most people breathe shallowly, trapped in the upper third of their lungs. Shoulders rise, chests constrict, and the sympathetic nervous system dominates. But when you breathe deeply, engaging the diaphragm fully, something extraordinary happens. Oxygen saturates the blood, carbon dioxide is expelled efficiently, and the vagus nerve activates. Every cell receives the signal that resources are abundant, repair is safe, and energy can be directed toward regeneration rather than survival. The Egyptians understood this intuitively. They called deep, rhythmic breathing the river of life force, and they combined it with movement and silence to create what modern science might describe as a harmonic resonance loop. Each component amplifies the others. Breathing calms the mind, making silence more attainable. Silence reduces mental noise, making movement effortless. Movement increases oxygenation, improving clarity and sustaining mental calm. This triad, practiced consistently, allows the lost frequency to circulate freely through body and consciousness. Let's bring these pillars together into a simple practice you can start today. Begin with 5 minutes of conscious breathing. Inhale for 4 counts, filling your belly. Hold for 4, then exhale for 6, allowing the diaphragm to compress fully. Place one hand on your stomach, one on your chest. Only the belly should move. Then, flow into 3 minutes of fluid movement. Spinal flexion, conscious rotation, and solar opening. Performed deliberately, vertebra by vertebra. Finally, conclude with 2 minutes of intentional silence. Sit comfortably, close your eyes, and observe thoughts without judgment. Let the mind drift and settle naturally, like leaves floating down a calm river. The first time you do this, you may feel awkward or impatient. That's normal. Your nervous system has been conditioned for decades to resist coherence. But if you persist, even for a few minutes daily, you will notice subtle shifts. Breathing becomes easier. Your spine feels lighter, mental clarity sharpens, and energy flows more freely. These are the first signs of the lost frequency reawakening within you. Remember, this is not a quick fix. True transformation comes from consistency, not intensity. A few minutes daily, practiced with awareness, rewires the nervous system, harmonizes cellular oscillators, and restores the natural regenerative flow. This is why the ancients encoded their wisdom in rituals, repetition, and precise practice. They knew that profound change does not occur in a single moment. It emerges gradually, like sediment forming rock, like rivers carving valleys over centuries, like energy building in resonance until it reaches a threshold. As you progress, you will notice an astonishing shift in your perception of time. Time will no longer feel like a relentless thief, stealing vitality with each passing day. Instead, it will bend to your rhythm. Your cells, your energy, and your consciousness will respond to your internal state, allowing you to inhabit a world where fatigue, joint pain, and cognitive decline are no longer inevitable. The lost frequency is not something you chase, it is something you awaken within yourself. The Egyptians understood something extraordinary. The body, mind, and universe are all oscillators, resonating in synchrony when aligned. Misalignment creates interference, stagnation, and decay. Alignment restores coherence, energy, and vitality. Breathing, movement, and silence are the practical tools to achieve this resonance. They do not require mystical knowledge, rare substances, or expensive interventions. They require awareness, intention, and the courage to reclaim what civilization taught you to ignore. Your next step is simple. Begin today. Spend 5 minutes connecting with your breath, flowing through movement, and resting in silence. Observe the subtle changes in your energy, mental clarity, and physical sensation. This is the awakening of the lost frequency of creation, the first ripple of resonance that will expand into your entire being. The river of life force, once dormant, begins to flow. The hum beneath reality, once muted, becomes audible. Your internal oscillators, long fragmented by the modern world, start to synchronize. This is your first taste of alignment, and it is only the beginning. From here, you will begin to integrate these principles into a consistent daily practice, allowing the frequency to deepen its influence, restoring your body's natural rhythms and expanding your consciousness. You are stepping into the current that the ancients mastered, reclaiming a vibration that has always been your birthright. And as this frequency grows, so too does your connection to the timeless rhythm of creation itself. The first part of our journey introduced the pillars of conscious breathing, intentional silence, and fluid movement. Now, it's time to take a deeper dive into what modern science is only beginning to understand and what the ancients mastered thousands of years ago. The lost frequency of creation is not a mystical concept. It's a biological and energetic reality. It vibrates through your cells, your nervous system, and even your consciousness, dictating the difference between decay and regeneration. Let's start with cellular resonance. Every cell in your body is an oscillator. Its membranes, organelles, and even DNA emit micro vibrations that respond to internal and external stimuli. When your internal environment is chaotic, stress hormones high, oxygen low, inflammation rampant, these cellular oscillators fall out of sync. Misalignment occurs, and the body starts prioritizing survival over maintenance. Repair mechanisms slow, free radicals accumulate, and what scientists now call oxidative stress accelerates the aging process. The lost frequency, when activated, realigns these oscillators. Cells resonate in harmony, repair systems activate, and energy flows effortlessly through every tissue. Consider the mitochondria, the powerhouse of your cells. Modern research shows that mitochondrial function is highly sensitive to vibrational alignment. When cells resonate at their natural frequency, mitochondria produce ATP, the energy currency of the body, more efficiently. Oxidative damage decreases, inflammation reduces, and longevity markers improve. Ancient Egyptian texts describe this in symbolic terms. The Ka, or life force, flowing like a river through the body. Modern science is now validating what was encoded in hieroglyphics thousands of years ago. Your breath, your movement, your mental state. These are not superficial practices. They directly affect cellular energy production and the fundamental vibrational frequency of your body. But why is this frequency lost in the modern world? The answer lies in the way civilization has conditioned the nervous system. Chronic stress, sensory overload, poor posture, and shallow breathing patterns all create interference. The frequency becomes muffled, its oscillations dampened, and the body enters a state of chronic tension. Think of it like a musical instrument that has been left in a damp basement. The strings are slack, the resonance muted, and even if you strike it, the notes are dull and lifeless. The ancients knew how to tune the instrument of the human body. Through specific rhythms of movement, breath, and silence, they restored tension, alignment, and resonance. Silence, as we discussed in the previous section, is the fertile ground for this tuning. Neuroplasticity research shows that intentional periods of quiet promote the growth of new neural pathways, particularly in the hippocampus. This is the exact region damaged by chronic stress and overstimulation. By deliberately creating spaces of stillness, you allow your nervous system to reset, recalibrate, and harmonize. The lost frequency begins to emerge in these moments, subtle at first, like a faint hum in the background, but unmistakable as your body and mind learn to resonate with it. Breath is the amplifier of this frequency. Shallow chest breathing stimulates the sympathetic nervous system, creating a chronic fight-or-flight response. Your cells, in turn, interpret this as a signal of danger. Oxygen delivery becomes inefficient, and metabolic waste accumulates. Diaphragmatic breathing, on the other hand, activates the parasympathetic nervous system, promoting calm, energy conservation, and repair. The ancients called this the river of life force because it literally floods every cell with the energy and oxygen required to restore resonance. Now, let's integrate these insights into a more advanced practice. Begin with conscious breathing as before, but extend the exhale to 8 counts while maintaining the 4-count inhale and 4-count hold. This elongation triggers a deeper vagal response, further activating your body's regenerative mechanisms. Next, incorporate a sequence of undulating movements that engage multiple spinal segments simultaneously: cervical, thoracic, and lumbar. Feel energy rising along the central axis of your body, and visualize it spiraling upward like a helix, aligning with the lost frequency. Finally, end with 3 minutes of intentional silence, but this time add a focus on vibrational awareness. As thoughts arise, notice not just their presence, but the subtle resonance they create in your body. Some thoughts will create tension, others fluidity. Observe this oscillation without judgment, allowing your internal frequency to calibrate naturally. Let's explore the science behind this vibrational observation. Research in psychoneuroimmunology demonstrates that conscious awareness of bodily sensations can directly influence cellular repair mechanisms. The nervous system is not passive. It communicates constantly with every organ and tissue. When you bring mindful attention to these oscillations, you create a feedback loop that amplifies regenerative signals. This is exactly what the ancients described when they spoke of observing the ka within oneself, aligning mind, body, and energy with the rhythm of creation. Another fascinating layer involves the interaction between the lost frequency and the electromagnetic fields of the body. Every organ emits a subtle electromagnetic signature, measurable with modern instrumentation. When the body is coherent, breathing rhythmic, mind calm, movement fluid, these fields align in harmonic resonance. Misalignment, stress, or stagnation disrupts the field, creating interference patterns that compromise cellular function. The lost frequency is essentially the state in which all these fields resonate in unison, amplifying vitality and regenerative capacity. This alignment is not abstract. It is measurable, observable, and repeatable through the practices of breath, movement, and silence. Ancient texts even hint at the universality of this frequency. They describe a vibrational pattern that permeates the universe, connecting all life. When humans align with this pattern, they experience profound clarity, heightened intuition, and a sense of time bending to their favor. Modern physics is beginning to echo this understanding. Studies in quantum biology suggest that coherent vibration within biological systems enhances efficiency in molecular interactions, from enzyme function to DNA repair. The lost frequency, therefore, is both a personal resonance and a universal one. Your alignment allows not only cellular repair, but also attunement with a broader cosmic rhythm. One of the most striking modern validations comes from research on circadian rhythms. Your body has natural oscillations of hormonal secretion, energy production, and cellular repair that follow a roughly 24-hour cycle. When aligned with natural light, breath, movement, and silence, these rhythms synchronize optimally, creating peak periods of regeneration. Misalignment, common in modern lifestyles, results in chronic fatigue, hormonal imbalances, and accelerated aging. The lost frequency acts as a reset signal, restoring harmony between your internal clock and external environment. At this point, you may wonder, Can anyone access this frequency, or is it reserved for those with spiritual training? The truth is liberating. The frequency is inherent, dormant within every person, waiting to be reactivated. Civilization has taught you to forget, but the ability has never left your biology. The Egyptians encoded the techniques, not as exclusive secrets, but as reproducible processes. Align your breath, move your body with intention, and cultivate intentional silence. These are universally accessible, free, and profoundly effective. To integrate this knowledge, begin to observe your daily rhythms. Track your energy peaks and troughs, note when mental clarity is highest, and see how your breathing patterns fluctuate with stress. Begin applying the 3 pillars throughout the day. Reset with conscious breaths, pause for brief moments of silence, and engage in fluid micro-movements to unblock energy channels. Over time, your internal oscillators will respond, aligning with the lost frequency and amplifying regenerative processes. In essence, the lost frequency is both subtle and powerful. It doesn't require complex rituals, rare substances, or mystical intervention. It is awakened by presence, awareness, and consistent alignment with natural law. Your breath, your spine, and your mind are instruments. Your consciousness is the conductor. When all 3 synchronize, you become a living embodiment of creation's harmonic resonance, a vessel through which vitality flows uninterrupted. The next layer of mastery involves combining these practices with conscious environmental alignment. Light, sound, and spatial arrangement influence cellular oscillation. Natural sunlight in the morning supports melatonin cycles and mitochondrial function. Exposure to natural sounds or intentional tonal resonance during movement and silence enhances vibrational coherence. Even the layout of your space, allowing for fluid movement, minimizing clutter, and creating zones of intentional quiet supports the lost frequency. These external cues, when harmonized with internal practices, create a resonance amplification effect, accelerating cellular repair and mental clarity. Finally, understand that this is a lifelong practice, not a temporary fix. Just as you cannot build a mountain in a day, you cannot restore the frequency of creation in an instant. But by committing to daily alignment, no matter how brief, you create exponential growth. Each breath, each moment of silence, each intentional movement contributes to a cumulative resonance that transforms your cells, your mind, and your experience of reality itself. The Egyptians knew this. They did not seek instant immortality. They sought regeneration, sustained vitality, and mastery over biological time. They understood that the universe operates in vibration, that energy flows where attention goes, and that alignment with these principles produces measurable transformation. Modern science, from mitochondrial biology to neuroplasticity and quantum resonance, is finally beginning to validate these ancient insights. The lost frequency is no longer myth. It is a living, breathing, measurable reality. The next step is simple but profound. Dedicate yourself to conscious alignment daily. Begin with the pillars: breath, movement, silence. Observe the subtle shifts in energy, mood, and perception. Integrate environmental alignment, light, sound, and spatial coherence. Track your results, refine your practice, and commit to the cumulative growth that occurs over weeks, months, and years. The lost frequency, once dormant, will awaken, restoring vitality, clarity, and harmony to your entire being. This is your invitation to step fully into resonance, to reclaim the power that civilization attempted to obscure. It is not complicated, mystical, or expensive. It is accessible, natural, and profoundly effective. The frequency of creation is your birthright, waiting to be remembered, activated, and amplified. Now that we've explored the science and principles behind the lost frequency of creation, it's time to take a step further into practical integration that turns knowledge into sustained vitality. The ancients understood that awareness alone is not enough. Alignment must be habitual, precise, and attuned to both internal and external rhythms. Without integration, the frequency remains dormant, a potential rather than a living force. The first step in this advanced phase is deepening your breath practice into what I call resonant diaphragmatic flow. We previously discussed the 4-4-4-6 pattern. Now, we expand it into a dynamic sequence that adapts to your body's energy. Start with a 4-count inhale into the belly, consciously filling the lower lungs. Hold for 6 counts. Then exhale for 8 counts, visualizing your breath spiraling upward through your spine, exiting through the crown of your head if you are comfortable with visualization. This may feel unusual at first. The body's not accustomed to this depth of oxygenation and energetic focus. But each session strengthens mitochondrial efficiency, reduces oxidative stress, and awakens subtle vibrations in your nervous system that were dormant for decades. Next, movement becomes the bridge between cellular alignment and conscious energy flow. In the first section, we introduced 3 foundational movements: spinal flexion, spinal rotation, and solar opening. Now, we build on these with integrated energy sequences designed to propagate resonance throughout the entire body. Start with spinal undulations, coordinating breath with each wave. Inhale as the spine arches, exhale as it curls. Flow into lateral expansions, opening the rib cage with inhalation and releasing tension with exhalation. Finally, incorporate rotational spirals that engage your torso, hips, and shoulders. Think of your body as a vortex of energy. Each movement amplifies oscillation, ensuring every cell aligns with the lost frequency. Visualization enhances this process. Ancient Egyptian texts often describe light or energy spiraling within the body, often depicted in symbolic forms like serpents or helixes. Modern biofield research supports this, demonstrating that coherent intention can modulate electromagnetic fields of the body. As you move, visualize a spiraling energy rising from the base of your spine, coursing through each vertebra, nourishing organs, and radiating outward. This is not mystical imagination. It's a deliberate tuning process that reinforces cellular resonance, allowing your internal systems to communicate in harmony. Silence, the third pillar, now evolves into resonant silence. This practice differs from mere quietude. It is an active observation of energy oscillations within your body. Sit comfortably, close your eyes, and focus not only on thoughts, but on the subtle vibrations of breath, heartbeat, and internal fluid movement. Some areas may feel dense or sluggish. These are stagnated zones. Others may feel light and fluid. These are resonant zones. Others may feel light and fluid. These are resonant zones. By observing without judgment, you allow your nervous system to recalibrate, enhancing coherence across all bodily systems. In neuroscience terms, you are training your default mode network and integrating the sensory, autonomic, and cognitive systems into a unified harmonic state. Environmental alignment magnifies these effects. The ancients built temples, tombs, and sacred spaces designed to enhance vibrational resonance. While you may not have access to sacred pyramids, you can recreate similar conditions. Natural light, clean air, minimal noise, and open space amplify your practice. Position yourself near sunlight in the morning to stimulate circadian hormones, or create a dedicated quiet zone where distractions are minimized. Even the direction you face north, east, south, or west can subtly influence your energy alignment, according to ancient principles of geomancy. The lost frequency thrives in optimal conditions, and the more you can harmonize your environment, the more pronounced the benefits become. Nutrition, often overlooked in energetic practices, is a critical component. The lost frequency requires a low-inflammatory, high-resonance diet. This means foods that are minimally processed, rich in micronutrients, and energetically vibrant. Fresh vegetables, seeds, nuts, and properly prepared whole grains provide not only chemical nourishment, but subtle vibrational support to cellular oscillators. Hydration plays a role as well. Water carries energy and facilitates intracellular communication. Ancient texts often reference living waters or waters of life, symbolizing both purity and vibrational coherence. Modern research confirms that even slight dehydration can reduce cellular efficiency, mitochondrial function, and overall vibrational alignment. Once internal practices, environment, and nutrition are integrated, it's time to layer in temporal mastery. Ancient Egyptian teachings describe a principle called the conscious duration of time, which modern science translates into chronobiology. By aligning your daily activities with natural biological rhythms, sleep cycles, peak cognitive periods, and hormonal fluctuations, you allow the lost frequency to resonate without interference. For example, performing high-intensity movement or complex problem-solving tasks during peak cortisol periods aligns with natural energy surges, rather than forcing your body into resistance. Likewise, deep regeneration practices, long diaphragmatic breaths, meditation, and silent observation should occur during parasympathetic dominance, when the body is primed for repair. Let's consider a daily integration routine. Begin at dawn with a resonant diaphragmatic breathing session of 8 minutes, coordinating spiral visualizations with breath. Follow this with fluid spinal movements, undulating through 10 to 12 cycles, each accompanied by full-body spirals to awaken latent energy channels. Then, engage in resonant silence for 10 minutes, focusing on internal oscillation, subtle vibrations, and clearing stagnated zones. Finally, step into sunlight, hydrate, and consume a nutrient-rich breakfast, activating circadian alignment. Throughout the day, micro-practices of conscious breathing and micro-movements maintain the lost frequency, preventing drift and reinforcing coherence. Advanced practitioners can also explore frequency amplification techniques, combining breath, sound, and subtle movement. Sound vibration, such as humming, chanting, or tonal resonance exercises, can entrain cellular oscillators. Even low-volume vocalizations create micro-vibrations throughout the body, enhancing mitochondrial function and nervous system coherence. Similarly, movement sequences synchronized with sound further amplify resonance, creating an internal orchestra of harmonized frequencies. The ancients understood this intuitively. Rituals involving chant, dance, and breath synchronize the body with cosmic vibration, producing states of heightened energy, clarity, and regenerative capacity. Science is beginning to catch up with these practices. Studies in vibrational medicine, biofield research, and quantum biology suggest that coherent oscillation within tissues increases enzymatic efficiency, enhances protein synthesis, and accelerates DNA repair. In practical terms, this means reduced cellular aging, improved organ function, and enhanced cognitive clarity. Those who consistently align breath, movement, silence, nutrition, and environmental conditions experience not just incremental benefits, but profound, systemic transformation. There's also a psychological dimension. The lost frequency does not only affect physical cells, but also the cognitive emotional landscape. When your body is coherent and resonant, your mind experiences heightened clarity, intuitive insight, and emotional balance. Chronic stress, mental rigidity, and emotional suppression are replaced with fluid perception, responsive decision-making, and a deep sense of presence. This is precisely what ancient texts describe as harmony between Ka, life force, and Ba, conscious self. The lost frequency is both biological and psychological, a bridge between cellular regeneration and conscious evolution. A practical tip: track your resonance. Journaling, energy mapping, or even biofeedback devices can help you observe shifts in alignment. Note changes in sleep quality, mental clarity, emotional regulation, and physical vitality. Over time, patterns emerge. You begin to understand when your frequency is high, when it is waning, and which practices most effectively restore coherence. This awareness alone strengthens your capacity to self-regulate, preventing external chaos from disrupting your internal harmony. Consistency remains the key. The ancients did not practice once and expect transformation. They built systems of daily alignment. 5 minutes of diaphragmatic breathing, 10 minutes of fluid movement, and 10 minutes of resonant silence may not seem dramatic in isolation, but when practiced daily over months and years, the effects compound exponentially. Cellular repair becomes habitual, neuroplasticity increases, emotional resilience strengthens, and your perception of time shifts from relentless progression to cooperative rhythm. Finally, the lost frequency is not a finite resource. Unlike supplements, treatments, or external interventions, this vibrational alignment grows with practice. Each day you reinforce resonance. Your cells adapt to sustain higher levels of energy, coherence, and regeneration. The frequency amplifies itself through internal feedback loops, much like tuning an instrument repeatedly until its resonance carries effortlessly through a room. By the end of this process, you reach a state that is both profoundly practical and extraordinarily subtle. You move with fluidity, breathe with efficiency, experience clarity of mind, and radiate vitality. But more importantly, your cells communicate in harmony. Every organ, tissue, and molecule resonates with the lost frequency, producing a living system optimized for longevity, resilience, and conscious vitality. This is the essence of the lost frequency of creation. It is not mystical. It is measurable, reproducible, and within reach of anyone willing to integrate these principles. Breath, movement, silence, environment, nutrition, and temporal alignment are the tools. Consistent practice is the key. When aligned, you do not merely survive, you thrive, regenerating not only your body but your consciousness and reclaiming mastery over your relationship with time itself. By now, you've learned the principles, the science, and the practices that awaken the lost frequency of creation. But understanding alone is not enough. Knowledge becomes power only through consistent action, through the daily integration of breath, movement, and silence into the rhythm of your life. Ancient wisdom emphasizes that the frequency is not a destination, it's a living force, responsive to your choices, attention, and presence. Begin with the morning ritual. This is more than routine. It is the foundation for the entire day's resonance. As soon as you awaken, resist the societal urge to reach for your phone, scroll through notifications, or immerse yourself in external chaos. Instead, spend 5 to 10 minutes in resonant, diaphragmatic breathing, focusing on the rise and fall of your belly, the flow of energy through your spine, and the spiraling visualizations of your inner life force. The mind, in these first moments, is pliable, like fresh clay waiting for shape. Direct your attention inward, consciously aligning with cellular regeneration rather than reactive stress. Next, engage in fluid energy movements, awakening dormant pathways and stimulating lymphatic circulation. Perform spinal undulations, lateral expansions, and rotational spirals, as taught in Section 2, imagining your internal river flowing freely. Each vertebrae, each joint, each organ becomes a conduit for the lost frequency, propagating resonance throughout your entire system. Movement here is not exercise in the conventional sense. It is a dialogue between your conscious self and your cellular self. Your body responds, tissues rehydrate, and energy begins to vibrate in harmony with your awareness. Silence, too, has a profound role in this daily integration. It is not merely the absence of sound. It is intentional observation of internal resonance. Sit comfortably, close your eyes, and focus on the subtleties of your breath, heartbeat, and the micro movements of your body. Thoughts may arise, anxieties, plans, memories, but the practice is to observe without attachment. Each observation clears cognitive clutter, reduces cortisol, and realigns your nervous system. Over time, this practice recalibrates your default mode network, enhancing metacognition, intuition, and emotional regulation. Nutrition further sustains the frequency. Think of food as both biochemical fuel and vibrational support. Prioritize living, minimally processed foods, fresh vegetables, high-quality proteins, seeds, and nuts, foods that carry high vibrational energy. Hydrate consistently, recognizing water as a conductor of the lost frequency, essential for intracellular communication. Avoid chronic stimulants, processed sugars, and inflammatory substances that disrupt your body's energetic harmony. The ancients spoke of living waters and golden grains, not for ritualistic reasons, but for practical vitality. Your diet is not a restriction. It is an amplification of resonance. To truly live this frequency, you must expand your awareness to temporal mastery. Ancient Egyptian teachings describe the conscious duration of time, now understood through chronobiology. Align your tasks with natural cycles, high-energy activities during cortisol peaks, restorative practices during parasympathetic dominance, and cognitive work in periods of heightened focus. Avoid forcing the body into unnatural patterns that disrupt rhythm. By harmonizing with natural cycles, you optimize regeneration, mental clarity, and emotional balance. Time becomes an ally rather than a tyrant. Integration also requires micro-practices throughout the day. Even brief pauses of conscious breathing, stretches, or moments of silence can prevent drift and reinforce internal resonance. The lost frequency thrives in consistent attention. Observe your posture, notice your breath, and make micro-adjustments. These small, repeated alignments compound over time, creating a coherent, energetic field. The psychological dimension of this integration cannot be overstated. Your mental-emotional landscape interacts dynamically with the lost frequency. Chronic stress, mental rigidity, and emotional suppression dampen resonance. By cultivating fluidity of thought, emotional awareness, and responsiveness, you enhance the cellular oscillation that underpins vitality. The lost frequency is both biological and psychological, a bridge between your body and consciousness. Those who master it experience enhanced intuition, creativity, and emotional resilience, often reporting that decisions feel guided rather than forced. That insight arises effortlessly, and that life feels synchronized with their internal rhythm. Stories of transformation illustrate the power of these practices. Consider the centenarian healer in Egypt, still moving fluidly, speaking clearly, and maintaining an acute mind well past 100. Their vitality is not a product of genetics alone, but of deliberate alignment with internal and external rhythms, daily application of breath, movement, and silence, and a diet that respects both body and spirit. Another example is the modern researcher who adopted these principles for stress management and found that chronic pain diminished, sleep improved, and cognitive function sharpened without a single pharmaceutical intervention. These narratives are not exceptions. They are evidence of what is possible when the lost frequency is applied consistently. Consistency, rather than intensity, is the secret to transformation. A brief, focused session daily will achieve far more profound results than sporadic, high-intensity interventions. Think of the lost frequency as a river. Constant flow sustains life, while intermittent surges may cause turbulence but little lasting change. Build systems that support integration. Morning rituals, environmental alignment, dietary discipline, and micro-practices throughout the day. These are not burdens, but scaffolds for sustainable vitality. The environment also amplifies resonance. While we cannot all live in sacred temples, simple adjustments make a difference. Natural light, clean air, reduced electromagnetic pollution, and quiet spaces create a fertile ground for the lost frequency. Position your workspace or practice area to maximize sunlight, airflow, and open space. Even the arrangement of objects and colors in your environment can influence emotional and physiological states. The ancients encoded these principles in architecture, gardens, and city planning. Modern life can recreate them with conscious intention. Finally, advanced practices include frequency amplification through sound, vibration, and subtle movement. Tonal resonance, humming, or chanting can entrain cellular oscillators, while synchronized movement amplifies energy flow. Visualizations of spiraling energy, internal rivers, or luminous light propagate resonance throughout your system. These practices activate subtle fields, promote mitochondrial efficiency, and enhance cognitive and emotional coherence. The lost frequency, when fully engaged, harmonizes body, mind, and environment, producing a state of profound vitality and conscious alignment. The first stage of integration is complete. Daily alignment with breath, movement, silence, nutrition, and environment. You now experience tangible changes, enhanced clarity, improved energy, emotional stability, and even subtle shifts in time perception. Days feel longer, deeper, and more abundant because your cells communicate in harmony. Your nervous system is coherent, and your internal rhythms are aligned with natural cycles. With the foundational practices now integrated, you are ready to enter the next stage, advanced mastery of the lost frequency of creation. This is where subtlety, awareness, and intentional alignment converge. allowing the frequency not only to sustain vitality but to expand your perception, influence your environment, and accelerate regeneration at a cellular and energetic level. The first principle of advanced mastery is resonant awareness. As you move through your day, notice the quality of energy in every interaction, environment, and thought. Recognize that the lost frequency is sensitive. It responds to your focus, intention, and emotional tone. Stress, distraction, or negative emotional states disrupt the resonance. Presence, clarity, and deliberate action amplify it. Begin to approach even mundane tasks as opportunities to harmonize with this frequency. Washing dishes, walking, typing emails. By maintaining conscious alignment, you transform ordinary actions into regenerative rituals. Next comes energy refinement through cyclical practice. Ancient texts describe cycles of energy accumulation, release, and renewal. Morning breathwork, fluid movement, and silence are the accumulation phase, building internal coherence. Midday micro-practices, including intentional pauses, stretching, or sensory attunement, maintain stability. Evening reflection and gentle movement serve as the release phase, allowing accumulated tension to flow out and integration to occur. By respecting these cycles, you synchronize internal oscillators with natural rhythms, creating a powerful feedback loop that optimizes cellular repair and mental clarity. Advanced practitioners often report heightened intuitive perception as a result of this frequency alignment. Decision-making becomes effortless. Creative insights arise spontaneously, and emotional reactions are tempered by conscious awareness. Neurobiological research now confirms that practices which enhance attentional control, emotional regulation, and neural coherence mirroring these ancient techniques stimulate gamma-wave activity in the brain, strengthen prefrontal networks, and enhance connectivity between neural regions responsible for perception, cognition, and memory. Essentially, your brain begins operating at a higher level of efficiency and harmony, reflecting the lost frequency at a cognitive level. Spatial awareness and environmental tuning further amplify results. Ancient cultures intentionally designed spaces to resonate with natural cycles, solar alignment, and acoustic properties, ensuring that physical environments supported cellular and energetic coherence. While modern life limits such architectural freedom, you can replicate key principles. Create areas with natural light, open space, clean air, and minimal electromagnetic interference. Introduce natural sounds, vibrations, or tonal instruments to entrain biological oscillators. Even subtle adjustments, like placing plants in your workspace or sitting near flowing water, increase resonance, enhance parasympathetic activity, and support the lost frequency's amplification. The relationship with time becomes particularly profound at this stage. Initially, the frequency helps regulate daily biological rhythms, breathing, heart rate, circadian alignment. As mastery grows, time itself begins to feel malleable. You notice that moments of high presence expand, creative insight flows, physical and mental recovery accelerates. This is no metaphorical trick. Modern science confirms that cellular repair, neurogenesis, and immune function respond directly to circadian coherence, attentional presence, and stress reduction. By maintaining resonance with the lost frequency, you literally bend time in your favor, extending health span, clarity, and energy, while decreasing degenerative progression. Deep embodiment practices are the next frontier. These involve sensing energy through your body, visualizing flow patterns, and consciously guiding internal vibrations. Begin with subtle awareness. Notice the warmth, tingling, or lightness in your hands, spine, and feet. Gradually, use movement, breath, and focus to direct these sensations throughout your system. Imagine energy spiraling up your spine, expanding through organs, tissues, and cells. Visualization is not mere fantasy. Research in psychoneuroimmunology demonstrates that mental imagery can significantly enhance immune function, cellular repair, and neuroplasticity. Your inner frequency is a tool you can wield with precision. As mastery deepens, the integration of conscious intent becomes a defining factor. Every thought, breath, and action carries energetic weight. By cultivating deliberate intention, you create feedback loops that reinforce vitality. Positive states, such as gratitude, curiosity, and playfulness enhance mitochondrial efficiency, reduce oxidative stress, and elevate mood-regulating neurotransmitters. Conversely, negative emotions dampen the frequency, accelerating degeneration. Mastery is therefore a discipline of emotional, cognitive, and physical alignment, where every aspect of your being contributes to coherence. An essential aspect of advanced mastery is energy transference and interpersonal resonance. As your internal frequency stabilizes, you influence the energy fields of those around you. Humans are naturally resonant beings. Proximity, attention, and interaction can synchronize oscillatory patterns between individuals. This explains why some people feel invigorated, calm, or inspired simply by spending time with highly aligned individuals. By maintaining your lost frequency, you act as an anchor of coherence, elevating group dynamics, relationships, and social environments. Ancient healers, priests, and leaders intuitively understood this, and modern studies in biofield science support the concept of measurable energetic influence across individuals. Integration of advanced consciousness practices completes the mastery. Meditation, focused attention, and subtle movement become gateways to multi-layered awareness. You may perceive subtle energies, shifts in perception, and expanded consciousness states. These experiences are not supernatural. They are indicators of finely tuned neurophysiological coherence. Gamma wave entrainment, vagal tone optimization, and endocrine balance all manifest as heightened awareness and flow. The lost frequency operates as a bridge between conscious experience and biological function, demonstrating that mind and body are inseparable instruments in the creation of vitality. No. You have been entrusted with knowledge that has been suppressed, forgotten, or misunderstood for millennia. This knowledge is not meant to remain theoretical, it must be applied. Begin today with 3 commitments. Daily practice. Dedicate time every morning to breathwork, movement, and silence. Even 10-15 minutes consistently will rewire your nervous system, awaken cellular vitality, and align your consciousness with the lost frequency. Intentional awareness. Observe your thoughts, emotions, and surroundings. Reduce exposure to disruptive stimuli, nurture coherence, and cultivate emotional fluidity. Transform mundane tasks into rituals of alignment. Integration and teaching. Apply your knowledge in daily life and share the principles with those around you. Energy is amplified through connection. Your transformation becomes a catalyst for collective awakening. Remember, the journey is not about chasing external measures of youth, beauty, or performance. It is about reclaiming sovereignty over your biology, consciousness, and perception of time. Each breath, each pause, each flowing movement compounds into exponential regeneration. You are not fighting aging. You are dissolving the artificial blocks that accelerated it. You are not creating energy, you are restoring it to its natural state. You are not discovering a secret, you are remembering what was always within you. Ultimately, mastery of the lost frequency of creation is both personal and universal. It restores your body, clarifies your mind, and aligns you with the natural laws of vitality. At the same time, it positions you as a beacon of possibility, demonstrating that aging, stress, and degeneration are not inevitable. They are conditions you can consciously influence. The ancient scientists, healers, and sages encoded this knowledge not for mysticism, but for liberation. Now, it is your turn to activate, embody, and transmit it. Take a moment to imagine yourself 1 month, 6 months, or a year from now. Your energy flows freely, your mind is clear, your body regenerates with every breath and movement. You feel a sense of timelessness, as though your cells remember the vitality of youth while simultaneously existing in heightened awareness. Friends, family, and colleagues notice the transformation, inspired to question their assumptions about aging, health, and consciousness. You are not only living the lost frequency, you are becoming a vessel through which it manifests in the world. This is your invitation. The path is not mystical, complicated, or expensive. It requires only your attention, your discipline, and your willingness to remember what has always been within you. Align daily with breath, movement, and silence. Observe, refine, and integrate. Expand your awareness. Synchronize with natural cycles. Embody the frequency. Amplify it through connection. The lost frequency of creation is waiting. It does not discriminate. It responds to those who actively cultivate resonance and reclaim their internal sovereignty. Will you answer? Will you step into a life where time, energy, and consciousness serve you rather than constrain you? This is more than vitality. It is liberation. It is mastery over your biology, your mind, and your life itself. Your transformation begins now. The choice is yours. Begin today, and let the lost frequency of creation awaken every cell, every thought, and every moment of your existence.